Hello and most welcome to 1568, here by the red oak, or blood oak maybe it's called. We are presently having a spell of warm weather. It's only the wind that brings a bit chilliness to it from the sea. I would today talk about Raymond a Dart. It's an article by Elizabeth Johnson. Distilling Dart, minding bodily approaches to performance through a framework for integration, and the Alexander technique. This is at page 263, last paragraph. Framework sorry. The recent framework for integration is a particular distillation of overall bodily attitudes and patterning found in the Dart procedures. This analytical tool considers spinal patterning in various models. This analytical tool considers spinal patterning in various models. The original simple model looks at the head and spine in the sagittal plane to see whether the performer prefers an overall pattern of primary. Dart's fetal crouch, emphasizing an overall pattern of spinal flexion, or secondary, emphasizing an overall pattern of spinal extension, hyper. extension. These patterns can be analyzed in formal physical training, but also in the context of daily activities. These patterns can be analyzed in formal physical training, but also in the context of daily activities. It is theorized that when balances of these spinal patterns are less than optimal over time, chronic pain or injury may occur. As evident in figure 15.3a-b, in primary, the whole body patterning tends toward overall flexion of the spine. Softening of the limbs toward the midline, and a general body attitude of rest or introversion. In secondary, whole body patterning tends toward overall spinal extension and hyperextension, with the limbs freeing away from the midline and a general body attitude of engagement with the environment or extroversion. In the simple model of the framework for integration, the release of one pattern toward the other encourages a recuperative recalibration of the whole, called a reset. And though these two generalized patterns are simple and easy to see, most movement is a more complex spiraling of the two according to the body's double spiral musculature. The sequence of a baby rolling shown in figure 15.5 illustrates the baby starting from a general secondary pattern, turning the head into a spiral, and then rolling in transition to the rest of the back, more toward primary, but also in a recuperative reset. Performance examples. Framework for integration is in essence a movement analysis lens. Because movement is ephemeral and often does not repeat itself identically. Practicing seeing the simple model, primary, secondary, spirals, in still photos develops the confidence needed to recognize patterns in moving bodies. The patterns are not static shapes, but rather point to how the body or parts of the body trends toward, away, and through these movement intentions. In figure 15.6, each dancer is embodying the oppositional patterning in the simple model of the framework for integration. The male dancer on the bottom is in a deep rounded primary, while the female dancer on top is in a fully arched secondary. And a spiral combination of both, reminiscent of the rolling patterning. In illustrations less extreme than those of the dancers, the violinist on the left is adopting an overall patterning of primary, while the violinist on the right is adopting a patterning that tends more toward secondary. In each example, when the performers release their intention of the present activity in which they are pictured, they should, in theory, reset. For example, the male dancer in the arched jump in figure 15.7 will need to release the extreme arching so his head and spine can realign vertically and his feet and legs can reach efficiently toward the floor to land safely. To land well, he must release his secondary activity to reset more toward primary. He will not actively do the opposite of what he is doing in the jump, but rather will simply let go of the arching to reset. All performance in figs 15.6, 15.7 and 8 are in momentary activities that will change intention and shape according to choreography and composition. If any are caught in one pattern more strongly than the other and are not able to reset. Unnecessary struggle and muscular tension will hinder efficient and organic movement or playing. Figure 59 is an example of dissonance in patterning. A ballet step called an arabesque is an activity that requires extreme range of motion and hyperextension of the spine. The whole body in a secondary and lengthened state. Classical Alexander technique directions for the head are for it to go forward and up in length. As opposed to back and down, shortening at the base of the skull. In the arabesque on the left, the overarching in the back, too much secondary, is causing the head of the dancer to go backward, behind verticality, and causing extra tension in the musculature of the neck. The sternocleidomastoid specifically. On the right, as in the baby in figure 15.5, the arabesque balances the use of the body in hyperextension. Features clear upward thrust and reaches into the forward space. Tools for teaching. In his 1992 Introduction to Darts, Skill and Poise, Alex Murray said of the dart procedures, "These procedures will not teach one the Alexander technique, but patient and intelligent investigation by one with no Alexander experience may still lead to a certain enlightenment by revealing inefficient patterns of movement and helping to discard them." Undertaken with the guidance of a skilled Alexander teacher, they are a constant source of insight and a point of reference in one's patterns of behavior. One can continually return to these as to Alexander's positions of mechanical advantage, in which category they certainly belong. Dart has often said that man can only look ahead as far as he can look back. These patterns take us back to the origins of human movements and open up corresponding vistas for our future as mobile human beings. The framework for integration can help those who train and teach performance practices to identify in their students overall bodily patterning that either supports or interferes with successful practice and performance. Practicing parts or all of the dart procedures in tandem with Alexander technique lessons results in greater bodily awareness and capacity for choice and change. Practicing the aforementioned reset and faulty sensory awareness, which is understanding that feedback from the nervous system may be maladapted or too strongly habituated. The mover can learn to approach the dart work with ongoing process and patience. Integrating these approaches as central tools in training can facilitate greater bodily awareness. Increased efficiency and functionality, and improved technical and aesthetic aspects of performance, thus minimizing overuse and chronic injury. So we see here how the spiraling movement is the true directionality. Its chirality is internal, actually non-describable by explicit definitions. It can just be felt. Reality itself is based on this innerness. Reality is in itself both something inner, that is non-explicit, non-describable, and something outer. The outer has only slim or little contact with what the inner understands. These differences have enormous implications. They never seem to come to an end. Infinite in extension, the infinity of the inside is the spiraling tendency that is unique for each and absolutely non-describable by the external. Between these two absolutely oppositional sides, reality comes to the fore. Our bodies are bearing the innerness specific spiraling. This is exactly what balances us. It's not only, if only can be used here, a spiraling of the insideness of the psyche. The spiral is the psyche slash body, if you like, and slash, or body and mind together. The very turning is the soul. That's ourselves. So these ballet dancers, violinists, choreographers cannot be corrected in any way. They cannot be told. The change is an inner change. It could come, but it might also never come. These are the different sides we human beings have. This is very close to Terry Mark's tar law, where in between the borders, the edgy fractality of things, everything comes to life. This is presencing. Only when the inner is truly whole and directed can it reach out to the otherness of the external. But if you get fixated on an essence, obstructing your own spirality like Jacob and Jacques Monod, as we mentioned before, you will hinder reality to come to the fore. You are locking the spiral or making it turn with a lot of friction. Then we no longer see the features of reality, the tonality, the edges, the space and the negative space, the tonality. Instead, a blockage becomes apparent, a hindering or a stopping. To put a pause there, I'll continue briefly. When we are freeing this internal, original, foundational movement, we can reach out to the externality of others And then first we can become truly objective, understandable. Our language will be working healthier. It's a skill to talk. Bearing words is demanding the balance of yourself. There will never be any better than your balance, and there will never be any worse. This is a stark contrast to the autistic idea of Saussure of words by themselves, what he calls representing other things, sign and signified. A fixated, stillborn absurdity. An evicting of the inner spirality and the capacity to be heard, real, substantial. In the Saussurian neo-academic scheme, you become voiceless, mute. You will go into the D-tone language and think that objectivity can be gained by erasing yourself. Then you are making matters much worse. You are degrading into the neutralizing, nullification. You become less, and the world becomes less when you become less. One spirality needs to spiral into another one. This is the turning fractality of reality. If one spiral is doomed to stop, to become detone in order for a lunatic idea of neutrality, they will not turn against each other. There will be no communal movement, no dance if you like, and no understanding. That's why Neo-Academica is against understanding. It's the apeiron, fearing limitations that makes knowledge, properties, tonalities, edges. Like a stillborn idea, these madmen look into the sun until they get blinded. Ted Diamond, in his other book, I don't have the title here, I think it's Neurodynamics, is that since we've been lacking spirituality in the West, we import it from the East. But we cannot understand the body movement, the non-verbal aspect. And therefore, the explicit message doesn't have its embodied real counterpart that needs to accompany it for it to be working spirally. Alexander technique does that, makes a possibility of bringing the body into the whole scheme, because without this delicacy, the widening, the extension, how can you understand the other Eastern philosophy or whatever it will be? Your body is in another position. The reason why we imported these things is because our megalomania of Western thinking, that we just need the words, the explicit, and Bob's your uncle, if you like. No, we need to restructure our bodies to see them as the intelligence they hold and understand the innerness. That's the key to unlocking these big secrets and treasures. Thank you very much and have a very pleasant afternoon. Bye bye for now.